name's Mark.
My name's Paul.
And we're part of the Picture This project,
Yes.
which is all about photography. And today, we're going to talk about a few photographers. You've got one lined up for us, Paul.
Yes, Dorthea Lange is the first one. Very prominent photographer in my culture and around the world, probably.
Yeah, I think it's one of those photos that when you show it to people, we've shown it to students, and quite often they're like, oh, I know this photo.
Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen
it somewhere, yeah.
Yes. So the picture we're talking about is Migrant Mother. It was a photograph of Florence Owens Thompson. And happened around 1930s when
the Depression
era Dust Bowl in America. So it had a very big impact on American culture. So I thought we could ask a few questions, maybe answer them together, and see what our feelings are on them.
Yeah, well, we should point out that we come back to this photo time and time again with our students and ask these same questions to our students about this very image, don't we? It's like it's one you always go to.
It's an image that stands the test of time too.
Yeah.
It never has less impact than when it was shot. It's what is it? Almost 100 years later. And it still has the same impact.
It does. It's just the most clever, constructed composition to get across a narrative, to be able to convey the story. It was
absolutely
spot on. You can't fault it almost. All right, let's have a question. Let's do this.
What is it about that image that makes it one of the most powerful images in photojournalism?
Okay, so I think that with this image, for me, when I think of this image with Dorothy did, when we think of documentary imagery, it's the ability to convey a story in a visual format. So you're always thinking, okay, what makes a great photo? It's the fact that we convey a story that's almost beyond the words, so you don't have to explain a lot. You can look at something and go, oh, I get that. I can kind of get the sentiment of this story. And what we found with Dorothy's, this particular piece of work, was that she had refined the narrative that she was looking at so perfectly and so accurately and this thing we talk about in photography, which is it's so important to what you leave out of a photo as what you put in a photo.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we show, which you'll now see on the screen, the other photos when she was sort of exploring it, wasn't she? Like looking around.
Started with the wide,
and
then a little closer, and then
the kids,
people in, people out.
And then how she just kept refining that process of seeing something and going, okay, well, that can go. Yeah, that can go. Okay. And for me, one of the exquisite things is we go, oh, look at the little children's faces. But there were snotty little kids' faces, and she turned them away.
Yeah, don't look at those.
We know they're kids. We know they're little kids. That's a distraction to the story of the woman's face.
Yes.
Her eyes, her worry, and even the exquisiteness of when you see the eyes of that, it's almost you don't see until you drop down to the bottom picture. Yeah. That you see, what is that down there by her arm? And you go, oh, she's got a baby as well. Or she's got a world of problems and a huge weight on her shoulders.
Yeah. Kids actually on her shoulders, too.
Yeah, but the heads turn, though. It was beautiful. Like, turn the heads away, because one snotty little kid, and you're like, oh, yeah. And it would have changed the context.
That's right.
The other thing, for me, that I particularly love is we talk about this thing in photography, how we use these limbs, the hands and, the soft hands, so they're not like, And if you look at the photo, the way that the woman's hand goes up through the photo, and it draws the eye through. It draws you to the face. This woman's thinking about, okay, how am I going to survive? How am I going to feed these little snotty kids? And I've got a baby.
Yeah.
And the story just circumnavigates her world beautifully, tightly. It's like the viewer's got nowhere else to look. You are looking at her difficulties, her dramas, and yeah. So that was my short answer. Now for the long one.
Yes. We could talk about this all day, but
well, we often do, don't we?
Yeah, we often do. The thing about that image is that was at a time in American history where there was a lot of people that were traveling because there was no jobs, no food. All the farms had failed in a lot of places because of the Dust Bowl. And those people got in their cars and went west to California looking for jobs. And I believe that this was actually a pea picking field that they were set up next to. So her husband would have been out in the fields picking peas for a job, but they were only getting paid cents.
Yeah.
Just dirt poor migrant farm labor.
Did that photo predate The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck?
Yeah. It was predated.
Which almost you could feel like was one of those images that Steinbeck wasn't from that era, but he wrote a beautiful story, a powerful story about those migratory people looking for farm work.
The same people.
And the movie that was written, they made the movie with The Grapes of Wrath.
And East of Eden was in there too.
Yes.
But that absolute impoverished large sections of American populace. And the thing that the cities did not see or did not know is how impoverished they were. The people that were in the major cities and still had jobs, still going, it might have been poor people there, but they didn't see how dirt poor these people were.
Yeah.
And that image being from the Farm Bureau, going back to the government and being put out, it was the one image that grabbed the heartstrings of the populace of America. And after that, there was a whole bunch of...
Roosevelt's New Deal.
Yeah, the New Deal, the alphabet soup.
Yep.
So that image has kind of contributed to the turnaround in America after the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And how people viewed these people. So it's definitely an interesting thing. The other thing I wanted to have a chat about is, the lady in the photograph, she was not real happy later, Florence Owens Thompson. She wasn't very happy later in life because she didn't have a life outside that photo. She was one of the most famous people in America. Everybody knew her face, and they knew her as the dirt poor mother that couldn't feed her children.
Right. Yeah.
So,
not the best reputation.
Not the best reputation. It definitely was had complexities to her understanding of that photo. So my question to you is, Dorthea set that photo up to tell a story. When she did that, she impacted this woman's life forever. Yes, she did this, but at the expense of this woman. How does that play in with telling a narrative as a photojournalist?
Well, we know this isn't the first image that we could talk about.
There's a lot of them.
Talk about impacts. It is an interesting and important question, I think, of the impact a certain image can have on what we would refer to as the subject or the sitter or whatever else we want to describe the person being photographed. We have the Steve McCurry image of the Afghan girl. She's known forever. National Geographic sent people back there 40 years later to take a photo again and say, "Oh my God, it's you again. You want to take my photo again?" And there's obviously the girl from the Vietnam War who was running down the street after a napalm bombing. Her life, it has been completely changed, but remembered from that tiny slice of time. And then the rest of us, we kind of, because it's frozen,
Yeah.
And it's that element that
The slice
Susan...
of the great melt. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard of Susan Sontag, she was a great academic writer, sort of kind of philosopher of the 1970s, 80s in the US, and she wrote a lot about photography and its impacts. And one of the things she talked about how we take this tiny slice with a photo. It's this one slice of time we take, and it's frozen. But as we can see, life isn't like that. It's a continual movement of time, and but that doesn't move.
It never moves.
So she didn't move from that spot.
Yeah.
The girl from Afghan never moved from that spot of our consciousness. Our consciousness remembers that. Like, oh yeah, that's what. And even 100 years later, that's how I remember her. That woman. What's her name again?
Her name is Florence Owens Thompson.
So she's etched in time now in that split second. Because probably after that 1 second photo, one kid's probably blown his nose, turned his head, got bored, the life moves on.
Yep, life moves on.
But in our consciousness, and what we find interesting when we discuss photography, is how that one image has frozen her in that moment.
Yeah.
She's become like it's almost like a statue. Just, there you go. You're frozen in time now, Florence. That's how everyone's going to know you for the rest of your life. So it is. I mean, is there a way, as documentary videographers, photographers, when we do this work, I think it's an aspect that we just know is there. It is sometimes a consequence. It doesn't always have to be bad. I think I forget the name of the lady who was from Vietnam, but she's gone on to be a peacekeeper, and it's led her on to other things. And I think of how these one single moments in time, for not just in photography, but have led people to, has kind of formed the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So but we go in, I think you've got to go in again, you don't know you're doing it at the time so much, do you?
Yeah,
it's like anyone writing a great song or poem, I hope people like this. I hope they like this image that I'm taking. You don't know. And then, of course, the nature of how things go viral. Yeah. And then suddenly, poof.
Once one of the most known pictures in the world, Yeah.
So it is because you don't go in with thinking you hope that your image is well received.
Yeah.
People can understand whatever you're trying to do, but at the same time, it's a big thing once it does go viral.
Yeah, that's right. Even now. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to have a chat about is at that time, pretty much most of the people doing documentary photography were using smaller cameras, the Leicas, a lot of the smaller ones that were out at that time. The Dorthea Lange chose to use a big Graflex, dual Graflex. It was slow. It was not easily hidden because it was this big.
There's this photo we can share of her on the car with the
camera. That was her camera.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's not stealthy by any means. A lot of the people were using the little Leicas because it was stealthy and quick and transportable. What do you think about her choice to use the larger format cameras? Because that was something that she did throughout her career.
So we've often talked about the sort of types of equipment we use, and as maybe is evident if you see this video, we are not of the younger generation. So we do come from the film stock era. Both Paul and I, we, so to speak, cut our teeth in the working areas of photography. Working photographers, we would learn to use different equipment for different scenarios. So you would have the 35mm, which was more when we were on location perhaps, and the size of the film wasn't as important. Then we would go up to our medium format if we're doing something in the studio, large formats, etc. I think, and we always knew that if I was taking a certain kind of work, then that would dictate the kind of equipment that I would use. And if for the younger generation, if you think small film to large film, just think megadata. It's how much data. So the bigger the piece of film, the more we've got on there. So that would talk about the quality and that. So if you were in the field, what she clearly wasn't doing is she wasn't doing a Robert Capa. I'm going into war zones. I need to be. I've got to get out here quick. There's a grenade. It dictates, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think
it does.
She was going in looking for a specific narrative. You could see her. She's this large camera, and I get that she wants it on the highest quality she could get.
Yeah.
Really high format. Large piece of film. I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
She's looking for it. She's thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about that piece of narrative. You can see
her
she's someone thinking.
Yeah.
I think of people like Ansel Adams and stuff where you're not in a rush. You're taking your time.
Yeah.
So you want, with that time, because at the end of the day, it's a click. But that click you want recorded as best as possible.
Best possible, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I feel that she was very good at was her communication with the people. And having a quick camera is great, right? It's a great thing.
Mm.
But if it's too quick to communicate with the people, you're not going to get the same thing out of the photographs. When you take your time and communicate with the people as you're setting up that big monster camera, all of a sudden there's a connection. And I believe that a lot of her photos, there was a lot of connection. The ones, the Japanese internment camp photos, the pea picker photos, all of these photos, they were long enough to allow her to connect with the person that she was photographing.
Absolutely.
Where with the 35 Leica, you have like Bresson, that decisive moment, there was no interaction with his subject.
Yeah, the opposite.
It was catching the moment that was happening, not preparing a moment. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing for me, is that those images weren't actually just documentary. They were actually a connection between her and her subjects.
Who was the quote? Either side. So they say great portraits happen on either side. Can you remember who said that?
Steinglitz, I think.
Steinglitz. So on either side of the camera. And I think for a lot of photographers you get that, because if the camera is a tool that sits in the middle, it can't do anything other than what we direct it to do.
Yeah.
So it is that relationship. And I've done, like you, I've done a lot of work over the years, from commercial to documentary to all these various things. When I've been in certain places, such as the work I was doing out in Africa, and some of the work in India I did was, you didn't pick the camera up straight away.
Yeah.
I would actually talk to people first and just put the camera to the side. In mine was a 35mm, but still, the principle of, hey, I'm not just sticking the camera in your face, I'm going to talk for a while. I did a bunch of these priests in Fiji, and I was over there doing commercial work, but I'd go to the temple for my own kind of, photography. And I would go and have lunch with these guys. They got to know me. I was going to them from Fiji, so I'd sort of stop in. And then I started taking photos of them.
Yep.
And by which point your relationship with the subject has changed.
Yes, that's right.
I can remember they were having some temple ceremony, and I was at the back. It was full of the people for whatever particular religious occasion for them it was. And he's like waving at me to come sit on the stage next to him while he's doing his religious ceremonial duties, and people come and whatever they're doing. And I was put into such a fortunate position, because then he's like, no, come take photos here. Because he knew me. And I could see that with Dorothy. She had that connection with people. And also, to her credit, there weren't a lot of female photographers in that era. So she was groundbreaking, wasn't she? In terms of, she was one of those people not taking no for an answer.
If you want a female hero, she would show up every day and ask for the job she finally got.
Yeah.
Until they gave in and gave her the job. She was the squeaky wheel there every day going, you're going to employ me now. Look at my portfolio.
Yeah.
And they said no for like 6 months.
And
then she was still there. And one of the guys, I think it was Robert Frank, said, just give her the job.
And yeah, so I think that was an important part of the story for me as well, is not just her photos, but her determination.
Yes.
She wanted to shoot. She had an idea in her head about how she was going to be a photographer.
Yep.
Not to take no for an answer. She got out there. She took her own approach. And we, to this day, can enjoy what that process was and how that with the images she caught from that period of time. So if I was going to say to any student, I would always direct them in that direction, saying you should look at her work, reflect upon that work and what she did, and look at the Migrant Woman is obviously the number one, but it's like the Michelangelo, isn't it? Like you can sit there and say, go look at a Michelangelo, look at one of his pieces, whatever, or the Sistine Chapel, and stand there and observe. Take the time. And we would say the same thing about the Migrant Woman.
Absolutely.
Was a woman. John Malkovich did a very funny take. Do you remember he did a series of famous photos and he put himself
as
in
the Migrant Mother? Yeah, I remember that.
Maybe we can show that one too.
Yeah, maybe.
But it shows how it was iconic, and I think in some ways that's a credit.
It is credit
to her work. So we will periodically be doing this, talking about photos. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about. Have we got any more questions about it?
I think that we got through the major parts of them, and I think we probably should wrap up now.
Okay.
We might revisit her at some point.
Forever.
For
always. So again, this is a Picture This Project video. I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Yeah. See you soon.